In life, the company we keep shapes our thoughts, our actions, and ultimately our destiny. The ancient Stoics believed that true wisdom comes not only from within, but also from choosing wisely whom we allow into our lives. Some people lift us up, while others drain our energy, disrupt our peace, and lead us astray. In this video, we'll explore 7 types of people you should always stay away from, according to the timeless wisdom of Stoic philosophy. If you value inner peace, self-discipline, and personal growth, knowing who to avoid is just as important as knowing who to embrace. Stay tuned, and let's dive in. Number 1. The constant complainer. The constant complainer is a figure that many of us encounter in our daily lives, and perhaps at times embody ourselves. This individual seems to always find something to complain about, no matter the situation or the circumstances. Whether in personal relationships, at work, or within society at large, their constant stream of dissatisfaction and negativity can be draining to those around them. This habit often stems from a deep-seated dissatisfaction with life, a lack of contentment, or even a subconscious desire for attention. What starts as a minor grievance can quickly evolve into a habitual and pervasive outlook, affecting not only the complainer, but everyone within their circle. At first glance, the constant complainer might seem to be merely expressing frustration or seeking validation for their concerns. However, as time goes on, it becomes clear that the issue isn't just a series of isolated complaints, but a broader tendency to focus on the negative. From the weather to work, family dynamics to social obligations, everything seems to fall short of expectations. Rather than looking for solutions or finding a way to cope with challenges, the complainer often fixes their attention on what's wrong, magnifying the problems and failing to acknowledge the good. This pattern creates an environment that is emotionally taxing, where those around the complainer are perpetually walking on eggshells, unsure of how to respond to the latest grievance. Psychologically, the constant complainer often operates from a place of frustration or insecurity. They might feel as though they lack control over their circumstances, and so, complaining becomes a way of asserting some form of agency. By vocalizing their dissatisfaction, they may hope to prompt change or gain sympathy. However, more often than not, their complaints fall on deaf ears or lead to defensive reactions, as people grow tired of hearing the same complaints repeated without any meaningful action taken. This can create a toxic cycle, in which the complainer feels unheard and continues to spiral into negativity, while others withdraw or shut down emotionally in response. For those who are regularly exposed to the constant complainer, the emotional toll can be significant. The complainer's negative energy can spread to others, creating a pessimistic atmosphere that can affect productivity, relationships, and mental well-being. The phrase, "misery loves company," rings true in this scenario, as the complainer may unconsciously seek to bring others down to their level of dissatisfaction. Over time, this can strain relationships, leading to isolation and resentment. The complainer may not even realize the impact their behavior has on those around them, as they are often too absorbed in their own grievances to notice the growing distance between themselves and others. The question then arises, how should we respond to a constant complainer? In many cases, offering empathy and actively listening to their concerns is important, but it's crucial not to enable their behavior. Encouraging problem-solving or suggesting positive alternatives can help shift the focus from complaining to finding constructive solutions. If the behavior continues unchecked, it might be necessary to set boundaries and, when possible, gently redirect the conversation toward more productive topics. The ultimate goal is not to dismiss the complainer's feelings, but to encourage them to break free from their negative mindset and adopt a more balanced perspective on life. In conclusion, the constant complainer is someone who habitually focuses on what's wrong in the world, often without seeking or recognizing solutions. Their behavior can be emotionally draining for both themselves and those around them. While their complaints may stem from a variety of underlying issues, the key to improving the situation lies in fostering open communication, offering support, and encouraging a shift toward positive thinking. Without this, the complainer risks remaining trapped in a cycle of negativity that affects everyone in their orbit. Number 2. The deceptive manipulator. The deceptive manipulator is a master of illusion, a puppeteer who pulls the strings of others with calculated precision. They operate in the shadows, wearing a mask of charm and sincerity while orchestrating their hidden agenda. At first glance, they seem trustworthy, even charismatic, drawing people in with well-crafted words and seemingly genuine gestures. They listen attentively, mirroring emotions and feeding on vulnerabilities. But beneath their carefully curated persona lies a sinister truth. Every action is designed to control, deceive, and ultimately serve their own interests. Unlike the straightforward liar, the manipulator weaves deception so subtly that their victims often question their own perceptions, doubting their instincts and surrendering to the illusion. They excel at emotional manipulation, using guilt, fear, and flattery as their weapons of choice. With carefully chosen words, they can make someone feel indebted, obligated, or even responsible for their happiness. If questioned, they swiftly deflect blame, twisting reality to cast themselves as the victim. Gaslighting is their specialty. They distort facts, rewrite history, and invalidate emotions until their target is left confused and powerless. A once confident and independent mind can, under their influence, become filled with self-doubt, second-guessing every thought and decision. To the manipulator, control is not about brute force. It is about psychological dominance, achieved through subtle coercion and the slow erosion of another's confidence. The deceptive manipulator does not act out of impulse, but rather through careful calculation. Every interaction serves a purpose. Every conversation is a game of strategy. They assess their targets, identifying weaknesses and insecurities that they can exploit. Some play the role of a victim, eliciting sympathy to gain influence, while others project an air of authority, using intimidation to suppress resistance. Their tactics shift depending on the situation. Sometimes they use kindness as bait, showering their victim with attention and affection before pulling it away to create dependency. Other times, they employ isolation, quietly driving wedges between their victim and their support systems, ensuring there is no one left to challenge their control. But despite their cunning, the manipulator's power is not absolute. Their greatest weakness lies in their need for control. For the moment they are exposed, their influence begins to unravel. Recognizing a manipulator is the first step to breaking free from their grasp. They thrive in environments where trust is blind, but once their patterns are identified, once their words are met with skepticism rather than acceptance, their grip weakens. The antidote to manipulation is awareness, the ability to trust one's own instincts and set firm boundaries. They may attempt to retaliate, spinning lies to discredit those who see through them. But a mind that is no longer susceptible to their tactics is beyond their reach. In the end, the deceptive manipulator leaves behind a trail of emotional wreckage, relationships poisoned by deceit, and individuals struggling to rebuild what was broken. But they can only succeed if their victims remain unaware of their true nature. Knowledge is power, and in the face of manipulation, self-awareness is the ultimate shield. By recognizing the signs, questioning inconsistencies, and refusing to be controlled by guilt or fear, one can escape their grasp and reclaim their own mind. The deceptive manipulator may be skilled, but they are not invincible. Their power is built on illusions, and illusions shatter when confronted with the truth. Number 3. The perpetual victim. The perpetual victim is someone who constantly sees themselves as the sufferer of circumstances, unfair treatment, or external forces beyond their control. This mindset, whether conscious or subconscious, shapes their interactions, decisions, and worldview. They often feel that life is against them, blaming society, relationships, or fate for their misfortunes. While everyone experiences hardship at some point, the perpetual victim remains trapped in this mentality, unable or unwilling to break free. Their identity becomes intertwined with suffering, and they may even reject solutions that could empower them. Instead of seeking change, They find comfort in the validation of their grievances. This pattern can develop from childhood experiences, past trauma, or reinforce societal messages. It may also serve as a defense mechanism to avoid responsibility for their choices or actions. While sympathy from others can be validating, over time this behavior can lead to isolation as people grow weary of constant complaints without attempts at resolution. Relationships with perpetual victims can be draining, as they often manipulate situations to reinforce their suffering. They may reject constructive criticism, seeing any suggestion for change as further evidence of their oppression. By framing themselves as powerless, they avoid accountability, which in turn prevents them from growing or overcoming challenges. The perpetual victim may also engage in passive aggressiveness, guilt-tripping, or exaggeration to garner attention and sympathy. This can create toxic dynamics in personal and professional settings, where others feel manipulated or obligated to accommodate their perceived suffering. Overcoming the perpetual victim mindset requires self-awareness and a willingness to change. It begins with recognizing patterns of thinking and identifying when one is defaulting to victimhood instead of seeking solutions. Therapy, introspection, and surrounding oneself with positive influences can help break the cycle. Shifting focus from blame to empowerment is crucial. Taking ownership of one's choices and actively working towards change allows for growth and resilience. Life is undoubtedly full of difficulties, but adopting a mindset of personal responsibility can turn challenges into opportunities for learning and self-improvement. While compassion for oneself is important, it should not become an excuse for stagnation. Instead of clinging to past hurts or injustices, embracing agency over one's life leads to true liberation. The perpetual victim must decide whether they want to remain trapped in their cycle of suffering or take the difficult but rewarding path of self-empowerment and growth. Number 4. The gossip and rumor spreader. There is a kind of person who thrives on whispers, who finds joy in weaving stories from half-truths and empty speculation. You know the type, the one who leans in just a little too close, voice hushed, eyes alight with anticipation. The gossip, the rumor spreader. They walk among us, their words floating through hallways, workplaces, and social gatherings like a silent poison, unseen, yet deeply felt. At first, their words seem harmless. "Did you hear what happened to Sarah?" they whisper, their tone tinged with curiosity rather than malice. The listener, unsuspecting, leans in, and so it begins. A seed is planted, and like ivy creeping over stone, the story spreads, twisting and turning into something unrecognizable. The truth, now tangled in embellishments and misinterpretations, loses its shape. By the time it reaches its final destination, it is no longer a story but a weapon, sharpened by assumption, wielded without caution. The gossip doesn't see themselves as cruel. No, they believe they are merely passing along interesting tidbits, entertaining, staying relevant. They justify their actions with phrases like, "I probably shouldn't say this, but," and "don't tell anyone I told you." But secrets rarely stay hidden. Words once spoken have a life of their own. They travel faster than fire, scorching reputations and leaving behind only ashes. There is power in gossip, and the one who spreads it knows this well. With a single whisper, they can tilt the scales of perception, painting heroes as villains and saints as sinners. They craft narratives that suit their agenda, sometimes for amusement, other times for control. The victim of their whispers may never know why they suddenly feel cold stares, why invitations stop arriving, why friendships wither without explanation. And yet, the gossip never takes responsibility. "I was just repeating what I heard," they say, feigning innocence. "I didn't mean any harm." But harm has been done, and words, unlike wounds, leave no visible scars, only lingering doubts and the uneasy feeling of being watched, judged, misunderstood. Perhaps the most dangerous aspect of gossip is how easily it ensnares others. It tempts even the kindest of souls, disguising itself as concern. "I just thought you should know," someone says, and suddenly, they too are tangled in the web. It is a trap as old as time. People listen because they crave connection, because the illusion of knowing something others don't gives a fleeting sense of power. But what they fail to realize is that today's listener is tomorrow's subject. The gossip has no loyalty, no true friends, only an insatiable hunger for the next story to tell. But what happens when the gossip finds themselves at the center of the whispers? What happens when their own secrets, real or imagined, become the currency of conversation? Panic sets in. They scramble, deny, deflect, and in that moment, they realize too late the weight of their own words, the destruction they have sown. Because in the end, gossip spares no one, not even the one who spreads it. So the next time a hushed voice beckons you closer, when someone begins a sentence with, "Did you hear about?" Pause. Consider the consequences. Ask yourself, am I about to be part of the problem? Because the only way to silence a rumor is to refuse to carry it forward. And in a world already brimming with noise, choosing silence may be the most powerful thing of all. Number 5. The hot-tempered and reckless. The hot-tempered and reckless individual is often a person of extremes, driven by raw emotion and impulsive decisions that can lead to both glory and disaster. They are quick to anger, and their reactions are often overblown, reflecting a fiery inner world that refuses to be tamed. At their core, such people possess an intense energy that makes them unpredictable, and their temper is the most visible manifestation of this internal chaos. When provoked, they lash out without considering the consequences, letting their rage cloud their judgment. This impulsivity is often their downfall, as they act first and think later, a tendency that can leave them in hot water or estranged from others. Whether it's a heated argument or an explosive outburst, these individuals have an undeniable force of personality, one that can be both captivating and terrifying. Their reckless nature extends beyond their temper. They often rush into situations without fully understanding the risks, driven by a compulsion to prove themselves or to act on their desires. They might take on dangerous challenges or speak their mind without hesitation, assuming that the thrill of the moment will justify their actions. In many ways, their recklessness stems from a lack of fear of failure, rejection, or even personal harm. This fearlessness can appear as bravery to others, but it's often just a refusal to consider consequences, a refusal to acknowledge that every action has a reaction. Yet within this volatile persona, there is also a certain magnetism. Their boldness can inspire admiration, as others are drawn to their energy, their refusal to conform, and their passion for living fully. People often admire their confidence, believing that their refusal to hold back is a sign of strength. However, this admiration is frequently tempered with wariness, as the danger of their temper and reckless abandon is always present. Though they may not intend harm, the fallout from their actions can be significant. Relationships can suffer when a hot-tempered person repeatedly burns bridges, and opportunities can slip away when their impulsive decisions result in mistakes that could have been avoided. In extreme cases, they may alienate those closest to them, driven by a belief that their fiery nature is justified and that the world should bend to their will. However, as they experience the consequences of their rash actions, there is often a moment of clarity. Some learn from their reckless behavior and try to temper their reactions, seeking balance between their passionate drive and the need for thoughtful consideration. For others, however, this cycle of outbursts and regret becomes a pattern that defines them. This unrelenting conflict between fiery emotion and self-discipline is what makes the hot-tempered and reckless individual so fascinating and so frustrating. The key to their growth lies in learning to channel their passion without letting it control them, to balance courage with caution, and to understand that sometimes silence or patience can achieve more than a heated exchange. Until they reach that point, they continue to live on the edge, leaving a trail of excitement, chaos, and occasionally destruction in their wake. Their journey is one of self-discovery, navigating the line between power and peril, with each outburst serving as both a battle cry and a warning. Number 6. The envious and jealous. Envy and jealousy are emotions that have long been subjects of both philosophical and psychological inquiry. Though often used interchangeably, they represent distinct feelings that can deeply affect human behavior and relationships. Envy arises when we feel resentful about another person's possessions, qualities, or success, while jealousy typically involves fear of losing something we already have, often a relationship or a position, to someone else. These two emotions are both rooted in insecurity, but differ in their sources and outcomes. Envy can manifest when we perceive someone's life or achievements as superior to our own, leading to feelings of inadequacy and bitterness. It's a response to the belief that others have something we want but cannot easily attain. In contrast, jealousy is more focused on the fear of being replaced or abandoned. It often emerges in romantic relationships or friendships, where one person feels threatened by the closeness of their partner or friend with a third party. Both envy and jealousy are powerful emotions that can, if left unchecked, lead to destructive actions, including deceit, manipulation, or even aggression. The impact of envy and jealousy on an individual's life is profound. At a psychological level, these emotions stem from a deep sense of lack, whether it's the belief that one is not good, enough, not loved enough, or not successful enough. This feeling of deficiency can erode self-esteem and breed negative thought patterns. Envy, for example, can lead to unhealthy comparisons, making us feel as if we are always falling short. We may find ourselves resenting others for their achievements rather than celebrating them, as envy blinds us to the value of our own accomplishments. Similarly, jealousy can create paranoia and distrust, especially in close relationships, where the fear of being replaced can lead to controlling behavior or emotional manipulation. Over time, both emotions can strain relationships, as those around us begin to sense the underlying tension and insecurity we carry. However, not all envy or jealousy is inherently destructive. In some cases, these emotions can serve as catalysts for personal growth and motivation. Envy, when acknowledged and understood, can highlight areas of our lives where we feel dissatisfied or unfulfilled, prompting us to make positive changes. It can push us to work harder and improve ourselves, striving to reach the level of success we admire in others. Similarly, jealousy can sometimes signal the importance of a relationship, reminding us of how much we value someone. When dealt with maturely, jealousy can lead to open communication and a deeper understanding of our emotions and boundaries. Rather than fostering resentment, these emotions can serve as mirrors, reflecting our desires and vulnerabilities, which, when addressed, can lead to healthier self-awareness and stronger connections with others. That said, the negative consequences of unchecked envy and jealousy are undeniable. Prolonged resentment can erode personal happiness, creating an ongoing cycle of comparison and dissatisfaction. Jealousy, if left unchecked, can escalate into controlling behaviors, toxic relationships, or even emotional abuse. Envy, on the other hand, can lead to isolation, as those who harbor it may distance themselves from others to avoid confronting their feelings of inadequacy. Ultimately, it's essential to address these emotions in healthy ways, whether through self-reflection, open dialogue, or seeking professional support. Acknowledging that these feelings are a natural part of the human experience is the first step in learning how to manage them constructively. By developing emotional intelligence and resilience, we can navigate envy and jealousy, preventing them from defining our actions or damaging our relationships. Number 7. The hypocrite. One who fails to live by their own words. A hypocrite is often seen as someone whose actions contradict their stated beliefs or values, a person who preaches ideals but fails to practice them. This dissonance between words and deeds creates a sense of distrust and moral failure in the eyes of others. It is not merely an issue of minor inconsistencies or the occasional slip-up. Hypocrisy runs deeper, reflecting a more fundamental misalignment between one's professed principles and their actual behavior. At its core, hypocrisy stems from the desire to appear virtuous, often masking a lack of integrity. In this way, a hypocrite becomes someone who presents a facade of righteousness or moral superiority, while secretly engaging in the very behaviors they outwardly condemn. Hypocrisy is evident across various spheres of life, be it in personal relationships, politics, or religion. For example, a person may criticize others for their lack of empathy, yet fail to show compassion in their own actions. They may speak about the importance of honesty, but tell lies when it serves their interests. In a political context, leaders might champion justice and equality, yet pass laws that favor the wealthy or disadvantage vulnerable groups. Religious leaders may preach about humility and self-sacrifice, yet live lives marked by excessive wealth and indulgence, disregarding the very tenets of the faith they claim to represent. The problem with hypocrisy is not just that it is morally flawed, it is that it damages trust and creates disillusionment. When people are confronted with hypocrisy, especially from those in positions of power or influence, it breeds skepticism. Trust is foundational in all human interactions, and once it is broken by hypocrisy, it can be difficult, if not impossible, to restore. The hypocrite's failure to live by their own words undermines their credibility, and their influence becomes hollow, based more on the pretense of virtue than on genuine moral authority. Moreover, hypocrisy also reflects a deeper personal conflict. It can be a symptom of an individual's inability or unwillingness to confront their own shortcomings or flaws. Instead of striving for personal growth or consistency between their values and actions, the hypocrite chooses the easier path of projecting an image of perfection. This creates a dissonance within the individual, leading to feelings of guilt or shame, which they may mask by doubling down on their righteous persona. Ironically, this only exacerbates the internal struggle, leaving the hypocrite trapped in a cycle of self-deception. Another aspect of hypocrisy is the way it fosters a sense of superiority over others. A hypocrite often critiques others for behaviors they themselves engage in, attempting to place themselves on a moral pedestal. This superiority complex not only isolates them from others but also creates a toxic environment where true accountability is impossible. Instead of fostering genuine self-reflection or growth, hypocrisy encourages a culture of blame and judgment, where people are more focused on pointing out the flaws of others than addressing their own. To truly live with integrity, one must strive for consistency between one's beliefs and actions. This requires self-awareness, accountability, and a commitment to growth. It is not enough to simply say the right things or adopt the right beliefs. These must be reflected in one's actions, however difficult that may be. Living without hypocrisy is an ongoing process of aligning one's values with their behavior and being honest about their own imperfections. The more we are able to do this, the more we create a world where trust, respect, and integrity are valued above appearances or empty words. In conclusion, hypocrisy is not just a personal flaw. It is a corrosive force that erodes relationships, institutions, and communities. The hypocrite fails to live by their own words, choosing instead to present a false image of virtue that ultimately harms everyone involved. True integrity demands honesty, self-awareness, and the courage to align one's actions with their values, even when it is difficult. Only through this alignment can we hope to build a world where trust and authenticity are the cornerstones of human interaction. To wrap things up, remember that the Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and reactions. By recognizing the types of people who drain our energy or hinder our growth, we empower ourselves to set boundaries that protect our well-being. Surrounding yourself with those who align with your values and who inspire you to be your best is key to living a fulfilling life. So, take these insights to heart, and remember that in choosing who to spend your time with, you are choosing the kind of life you want to lead. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who could benefit from these Stoic principles. Stay strong, stay wise, and as always, keep striving to be the best version of yourself.